Why executive warden training should be included in frontline feedback. Hi, I'm Gary York, and I put together a piece that will soon be an article, but I wanted to get it out publicly as quick as I could because I think it's important information. This is for training and education purposes. This is not for excitement or entertainment. So if you're serious about helping your agency and implementing things to assist with your agency becoming better and stronger, especially in the leadership area, I think you should at least listen to this, even if you're already doing that, using frontline feedback, measuring frontline feedback, implementing it in your decision making. Maybe something in here will help you with something else or lead you to another area that you can develop leadership information with and better yourself in leadership information. So here we go. Feedback from correctional officers to executive corrections management highlights the demanding challenges officers face on a daily basis. Management can not only improve on staff morale and retention by addressing issues of safety and officer wellness, but also feedback is essential for maintaining a safe and secure correctional facility. Frontline correctional officers are in a position to understand the realities of prison life and its challenges. When included, the frontline perspective can identify critical issues and provide practical solutions. Yes, I said it, the front line, the backbone of any correctional agency. Understanding the warden's objectives. Now, this isn't in my article, but I'm just saying to preface this, there's a lot of people out there that have no idea what a warden does. I remember when I first started, it was a few years before I really figured out what a warden does, and it wasn't until I got promoted that I started to understand more what the wardens do. So understanding the warden's objectives. In order to work together effectively, we must understand the importance of every assigned role and duty in the correctional officer chain of command. The front line must understand the demands placed on the warden, and the warden must understand the demands placed on the frontline officers as well as middle management. Top-down communication is essential to maintain safety, security, and order within a correctional facility. Wardens are responsible for what occurs within the prison, just as every rank is responsible for their assigned area of duty. Training is essential in order to keep up with new laws, policies, and procedures and internal issues needing attention. Here are a few of the things wardens cover in their annual warden training and in their daily duties. Institutional accountability, community engagement, emergency preparedness, facility-based rehabilitation strategy, inspection audits, policy oversight, data-driven oversight, human resources oversight, strategic planning and leadership, population management, legal awareness, staffing analysis, communication, use of force, safety equipment for officers, inspector general investigation and annual reports, annual budget reports. The list goes on and on. So if you've ever wondered what a warden does in his or her administrative office, this should answer some of your questions. How many of you still want to be a warden with all those responsibilities? You know, a warden is responsible for the prison 24/7. Even when they're home asleep and something happens at the prison, they are responsible. They're on the list of being responsible for incidents that occur at the prison. So look at the pressure on the wardens. Also, we must note, the warden must understand the trials and tribulations, again, from the front line, that they face and use it to help planning in overall operations. Why feedback from frontline officers? Well, officers can identify and communicate simple problems before they escalate to serious problems and even lawsuits for the agency. Officers also know the most effective communication and management techniques that are effective with the inmate population. Yes, I said it. The frontline officers know the most effective communication and management techniques when dealing with the inmate population. Better leadership and communication builds trust between the frontline, middle management, and upper management. Involving all your staff in providing input helps to establish a healthy culture and can actually help the wardens understand how they are perceived by their staff. Listening to frontline feedback helps wardens better understand if their staff is understanding the mission of the agency as well. The feedback can be used to tailor training, coaching, and leadership styles. The success or failure of the agency depends on the officers buying in to the current policies. Keeping the line of communication open with the front line will help maintain positive conformity. Here's one of my big ones. I always say it. Leave your ego at the door no matter what rank you are. Having an inflated sense of importance at any rank is harmful to the agency. Maintaining good communication, resistance to feedback, decision-making based on arrogance and self-centeredness is not good. Excessive ego fosters a toxic environment and blocks the ability for one to listen to feedback. It also causes low morale and runs off good officers seeking an agency looking for a non-toxic environment. Positive interaction. In corrections, we see enough negativity on a daily basis with inmate suicide attempts, attacks on officers, inmates with mental health and drug issues. There's no need for any of us at any rank to add negativity to the fire. A positive attitude creates the following: motivates everyone as a team, increases officer morale, enhances communication and trust, embraces open-mindedness, helps us to focus on solutions. The attitude is critical in building a strong unity that the inmate population will see, and they will realize there is no division among staff. This helps make managing the inmate population more effective and builds a bond among officers and management. The end result is more effective, efficient safety and security for everyone. Now, how does implementing frontline officer feedback into executive warden training work? All wardens, in my opinion, want to be more effective and adaptable wardens who are fully prepared to handle real-world situations and lead effectively. Implementing officer feedback and warden training will improve major decision-making for your policies, procedures, identifying skill gaps in training. Frontline feedback can help wardens identify areas of weakness, such as failing equipment, issues with escape risk areas and blind spots, inmate behavior, the overall culture of the agency. Allowing for constructive feedback rather than being on the defense. Listen to that. Rather than being on the defense allows leaders and trainers to adapt for a corrective agency in a positive way. Working together top down. Our traditional model of we make the decisions and you do your job has become rigid and non-effective in my opinion. It creates a non-trusting work environment which can be used by the inmates to undermine security. For us to have effective facilities, we must work together with two-way communication and a shared purpose. By creating a more stable corrections environment, we can provide a more stable and safer environment for our staff, the inmates, and enhance public safety. That's who we're here for, not only ourselves, but number one, to protect the public. Now, how do we implement officer feedback into practice? Well, we gather feedback First, we must find effective ways to gather the feedback and measure the feedback. Incident reports are obviously one good source, providing times, dates, and locations of reported incidents involving fights, contraband, and security violations. Work orders are actually useful to help determine the condition of officer safety equipment, cell operations, work environment areas. Intelligence debriefings after incidents are great for frontline inputs on threats, gang activity, contraband smuggling, and yes, even staff morale. Quarterly meetings using 360 feedback conducted separately with Frontline, no supervisors present, and then again with middle management and upper management, with no names involved and no threat of retaliation, brings out much information that would not normally come out in the open. I have personally sat in as a panel member on these no-threat meetings, and it is very surprising how much each group has in common in their thoughts and issues. Surveys with no names attached and placed in drop boxes may be an older method, but still useful for gathering feedback. With today's technology, anonymous digital surveys are also very effective. One-on-one interviews are great for gathering more sensitive, detailed, qualitative information that staff may be hesitant to discuss openly. Often overlooked as a power tool already in our toolbox is performance evaluations. This tool can be used as a two-way street to receive feedback from frontline officers and the opportunity to provide feedback to the frontline officers. Video surveillance and body-worn cameras, if applicable, are good tools for management feedback. How do we measure progress with quantitative data? One example is tracking absenteeism rates, retention rates, and performance management rates. Use the Employee Net Promoter Score or any measurement method you prefer to indicate the positives and negatives of your agency's present work environment. In order to measure the progress from your staff feedback, you must create a baseline so you can compare results. Another example would be tracking use of force, grievances, staff morale by data and metrics. Measuring officer feedback with metrics is a way to align individual and team efforts with the agency goals and mission. It also plays a huge part in management, making the right decisions. Learning to move theory to curriculum is the key to success. Always remember the 4 R's of feedback. Request input regularly. Review the feedback and look for patterns. Respond transparently even when change is not possible and explain why. Reinforce improvements through training and recognition and policies and procedures. What are we doing here, folks? This is really leadership development in an all-around 360. We're learning to process feedback without defensiveness. That's right, without defensiveness. It builds emotional intelligence and accountability, strengthening the overall culture of the facility. Leadership development is a continuous, never-ending journey. If done properly, it requires feedback, reflection, and action. I believe good leadership starts at the very top, and I believe the backbone of the agency is our frontline officers. Executive leaders such as wardens and regional directors set the agency culture, values, and strategic direction throughout the entire county, state, and federal corrections world. Wardens set the tone for performance and success and set the tone for direction, safety, and security, and a more workable environment for our staff. Implementing a warden's class on how to facilitate, use officer feedback, and discuss officer feedback will only strengthen your agency. I hope that something I said in here will spark a flame and get you going on some of this stuff if you're not using it. And if you are using it, I hope maybe there's something in here that you hadn't thought of? And if not, and you're using all of this, you're on the right track. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching. Gary York.